It feels like the government is doing anything they can to not have the September's job report numbers come out. It's feeling like the Epstein files. Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or go stout. So it is official. I talked about this in Monday's video, but the government has officially shut down. This happened on Wednesday. We're now entering the second day of the shutdown with really no type of end in sight because it's like two old men just arguing with each other. That means that we will not be getting a September jobs report from the BLS until the government reopens, but the IRS is still open. That's crazy to me. But thankfully, ADP came to the rescue with some of their own numbers, which in my opinion are more accurate, but I still wouldn't say they tell 100% of the story. But before we break down those numbers, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. It helps me and it costs you nothing. Now that we got that out the way, ADP released their jobs report for September and it's not looking so great. The stats show that America lost about 32,000 jobs in the private sector, and the reason I highlight the private sector is because those are not the federal workers that are getting fired amidst the shutdown. I know there's a report that said 100,000 federal workers got fired, but the private sector includes people like you and me working at private companies, whether it be a McDonald's or a Google. And I want to make sure that's noted because people confuse federal employees with private sector employees and everybody's getting fired. In addition to jobs being lost in September, they also went back and revised the August report. The August report showed that we gained 54,000 jobs, but in reality, we actually lost 3,000. I know I said it last time, guys, but we are really heading towards a bad future. The reason I highlight this information is because they're lying to you. I say it every video, but if you believe what they're telling you, and if you take everything they say at face value, you will be caught with your pants down. One of the big issues that this shutdown poses for everybody really is the possibility that it could affect the Fed's next move. They are already cutting rates to cover the cracks in the economy that are showing up because of the tariffs, and with the shutdown, they will not get the BLS numbers reports either. So they will be going into the next meeting at the end of October with last month's numbers. But honestly, the fact that the Fed acts off of this BLS jobs report just shows how cooked we actually are. At the best estimates, the BLS tracks data that is 6 months behind. At the best possible situation, it is 3 months behind. So let's talk about what's really going to happen in the next coming months. And you're not going to hear it from me, you're going to hear it directly from the CEOs of these companies. So via the conference board, we actually have some data that is pretty startling. Out of all the CEOs they asked, 34% of the CEOs said that they plan to reduce their workforce within the next 12 months. That's not where it stops. Of the CEOs that plan to keep people around for 12 months, the amount that said that they were going to increase the hiring ticked down from 28 to 27%. I know in your head you're thinking, okay, what about the ones that just want to maintain the amount of employees they have? You know, not grow, not decrease, just keep it where it's at. Sorry to break it to you. When asked that question, 39% of CEOs said they plan to maintain their workforce. That's down from 44% just last quarter. And they tell you that these reports aren't bleak and that things aren't that bad, but when you really dig into the numbers, you talk to the people controlling these companies, they're more scared than the people who are actually affected by the policies are. And they're scared because they have the real data. You know, we get a lot of BS and fluff from the BLS, but the corporations like Google and everybody else does see how bad it's getting. But the news correspondents that people watch all over the country will tell you that it's not that bad. And oh, they're still spending money at the store, they're still gambling in Las Vegas, and they just pull out these stats out their ass, but they never look at what's actually happening. Take a look at this news correspondent for CNBC saying some of the dumbest things I've heard, and he's supposed to be somebody financially literate.
For third quarter are surprisingly, I was very, by the way, moved by the Contessa Brewer's report about Carnival bookings up 26, booking healthily into 27. Casinos are doing well. It's hard to see the consumer flat on their back when they're basically taking cruises and gambling at the casino.
These talking heads at the news station really bring me actual pure anger. If this guy took the issues of the American worker seriously, he might be able to do a simple Google search about Las Vegas and see that everybody there is going bankrupt. Casinos are shutting down, restaurants are shutting down, airlines are cutting flights to Las Vegas, and even the Sphere is making less money than ever. But he wants to cherry pick a couple stats and say, well, the consumers aren't showing that they're feeling the pain. Buddy, people are going homeless, people are going hungry, people don't have savings. The consumers he's talking about are the top 10% of people that do 50% of the spending. So if we go over consumer spending by income, just look how sad these stats sound. Top 10% spend 49.2% of all consumer spending, while the top 20% are actually spending higher than pre-pandemic levels. The bottom 80 are spending what they used to or less. Reading that stat out loud actually felt kind of gross. What do you mean the bottom 80%? If you ever feel like, am I wasting my life? Am I doing things right? Am I just behind? Just remember that 80% of people are feeling that way. I don't know the answer to these problems, but I think if you see numbers like this, you might want to consider how to make it better for more people. When you walk around now, there is a look in people's eyes. There's just really no hope left. People more than ever are just going through the motions. And if our political climate is any insight into the future, violence is gonna start ticking up soon. I know on this channel, we talk about how things affect Gen Z, and I try to refer to the past a lot. I look at the 2008 recession, I look at the Great Depression, I look at just economical crashes that happened throughout time to see how I can give information that might help. But with how much the landscape has changed in today's times, while I do think the past is very important, I don't think it will tell even half the story of what our future will look like. I've talked about it in the past, and I know this is just some jobless hoopla, but I think we need to redefine what work looks like in this country, or these stats will continue to get worse. And once you introduce something like AI taking jobs, the problem just snowballs. When those CEOs say they want to downsize their workforces, those are real people losing jobs. And that's just within the next year. The reports already say it's impossible for college students to find work now. What happens in 12 months? How many years of people's lives are we allowed to waste? And that's what truly bothers me about this information. I know it feels just like a rapid flow of numbers and stats and reports, but the reason I do it is because there are real people behind those numbers. They're gonna point fingers and say it's that person or this person or that party or this party, but at the end of the day, it's another person like you that is missing out on opportunities to progress their lives. When those opportunities and those milestones are not met, first house, first child, moving out, then that hope that young people are let out into the world with quickly turns to hate. And the people in power operate and thrive off of you hating things. When you don't take the time to understand it, you will never peel back the things holding you back in your own life. As bad as economic times look right now, our economy has turned around before, and the government knows the things they have to do to turn it around. Responsible spending, passing bills, making sure Congress works at all, building trust with the American citizen, and do as much as they can to improve the country without interfering with your own personal rights. But it seems like every day for the past decade or more, government has been overstepping every single boundary, changing the rules, and making the landscape more destroyed than ever. With no end to the shutdown in sight, and two parties that frankly hate each other and would rather see the country stand still than make any serious progress, don't hold your breath on change. I'm going to give you the same advice I gave you last time: prepare. And some people made some good points. I said stock up on gold, silver, Bitcoin, and they pointed out something that I did miss when I said that. The things I mentioned to get currently are sitting at all-time highs. Gold is double what it was maybe a year ago. And while those things are fair, I do see these things going higher in the near future. And definitely being a good curb on inflation just to have your money in real assets. But there's many ways to diversify your portfolio. You can get into bonds, you can get into trading futures, you could even do foreign exchange stuff. I'm not too fluent in that. But the sentiment that I'm trying to just put out there is make sure your money is moving into things that are more reliable than a bank account. The more it sits and just gets eaten up by inflation, the more troubled you are really in the future. With that being said, always keep some on hand to buy the dip, but try to not have too much left available for inflation to eat up. But if you're even considering these things, you're taking the steps to prepare yourself for a future that seems very uncertain right now, and that alone, you should pat yourself on the back. Finances and focusing on the future is very tough, and I feel like as Gen Z, we weren't given the best blueprint to tackle that, especially now with all the nihilism going around. Preparing for a future is the last thing anybody's worried about. But I at least try to give you the news without some slanted look at it so you can better prepare for some type of future. Times might not be great right now, but they don't have to stay that way. One of the ways that you can change that the quickest is by being prepared. But if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know down below in the comments. Am I overreacting with my take on this month's job report, or am I being too nice? Like and subscribe to join the thread and stay up to date. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Transmission complete. Signal terminating. This is Ghost Thread, signing off.